So can you foil on coloured cardstock? Well, today that's what we're going to explore. I love to hot foil and it's such a fantastic element to add to your card. And we all know that you really need smooth cardstock to foil on. The smoother the cardstock, the better the foil. Well, today I'm going to have a look at coloured cardstock. Coloured cardstock isn't smooth. Majority of the brands do not have ultra smooth cardstock that's perfect for foiling, but I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks on hot foiling on coloured cardstock. So let's get into today's video. This card features the new Sentiment Banner Glimmer set that features in the Spring Into Glimmer Be Bold Glimmer collection. I'll be also using some other glimmer plates along the way. So in this set you get 3 dies that cut out the banner, and then you get an additional glimmer that creates the shadow effect to that banner, and I'll show you how to use that later. And then you also get a lot of selections of different sentiments. So this is a really great all-rounder collection of sentiments to use. So here I'm just holding the glimmer plate in place here with one of the dies to show you how the die lines up with that glimmer plate, and it will create that shadow effect to your banner, which we'll be doing later on in the video. Now these do line up and create sort of a crisscross banner, and you can create as many strips to your banner as you want, depending on how many sentiments you use. So I'm going to be foiling on some Gina K cardstock here. This is Eggplant, I think. And I'm going to be foiling the glimmer shadow plate for the banner, as well as some of the sentiments. So my card is going to read Sending Birthday Wishes. And I'm using the henge technique that Yana Smakula came up with to keep my dies in place along with the foil, just in case I need to re-foil it, it's still in place. And I'm just keeping it down with some washi tape in place. Now the foil I'm going to be using for the sentiments and the banner is blush foil from Spellbinders. It is a beautiful, beautiful sort of pinkish tone, and I thought it would go really well with the colour of this cardstock. To cut the foil up, I am using the Spellbinders cutting mat with the foil knife. It allows you to cut the foil, it keeps it in place, and you can adjust how big you need to cut that foil. It helps you stop using up too much waste. Now I cut the strips of foil for the sentiments, and I'm just placing it underneath my plate and then using some scissors just to trim that a bit more to size, and then I've got another strip to add under the sentiments. And once those are all in place, I'm then going to place it on top of my glimmer machine, which I've had heating up off screen, and you can see that the green light is solid to say the plate is ready. I've placed the cardstock with the plates facing downwards, and then I'm applying my shim and my spacer plate over the top, and then pressing the button to warm that up. Now there's many tips that I discovered as I was creating this card. I got some overfoiling with this, and it's probably because I've put the shims on to begin with whilst it's heating up the plates. And that's going to increase the heat and intensity of the plates and the foil on the card, because the plates are preventing some of that heat from dissipating off. It's also increasing the intensity of the heat, and that can lead to some overfoiling. So do bear that in mind when you're doing your cardstock. Don't put your shims on necessarily to begin with. You will get a better foil design without adding too much heat. Once I've then heated that up, I've run it through my die cutting machine without any of the plates, and I'm using a Sizzix Big Shot. And then I'm just removing the foil plates and the foil. And you'll notice that as I'm removing them, I'm getting a little bit of overfoiling. As you can see, it's probably not too noticeable here, but around the sentiments I didn't get the best foil. And later on I'll show you that I don't get the best foil on this banner plate either. But I'm going to show you my tips on how to remove that overfoiling. So as you can see on the sending, it's quite prominent. So here I'm using my Couture Creations Creative Detailer. So this is a battery powered eraser that spins the eraser quite quickly for you. I'm using this to remove the overfoiling, the excess foiling on the areas of the cardstock where I haven't got the actual sentiment plate. Remember, these glimmer plates slightly deboss the design, so creating like a faux letterpress. And that means that the foil on top, that where it's not supposed to be foiled, the overfoiling, isn't actually pressed down and it's a bit more raised up. So you can use a normal eraser, or you can use this to remove the foil design. Now I'm just zooming in on the banner here. You might think, oh, that looks like it's foiled correctly, but as I shine it in the light, you can see I have some overfoiling between the lines. And this tool is so useful for very thin, intricate details like this. If you used a normal eraser, you wouldn't be able to get in those thin lines so well. The Creative Detailer has a thin and a thick rubber to add on to the end, so I switched to the thin end just to get in and get that detail a lot more cleaner and crisper. And as you can see, I've really improved the design. I've removed the overfoiling, not wasted the foil that I created in making these or the card, and I can still use them. I'm now just using the coordinating dies to die cut these out, and this will start to create our banner. And as you can see how I am building it up here with the birthday and that shadow foiled banner as well. Now I'm going to show another trick. So obviously I'd overfoiled it, so I decided I was going to alter how I was doing this. And instead I placed a piece of cardstock over there and the spacer plate. I didn't use a thin shim. This was to try and reduce the amount of heat that was being exposed, so I wasn't creating an excessive temperature. And this might lead to less overfoiling. So here's the foiled result of after I'd run it through without that spacer shim and just used a piece of cardstock. And as I peel the foil off, as you can see, I got a much better foil. I wasn't getting overfoiling, I got a little bit of mismatched foiling. Hi, it's me again, just popping in to let you know about the Card Maker Success Summit. If you have not already signed up for your free ticket, there is a link in the description box below. You'll also find out loads of information and details about this free summit running 4 days this weekend. I'm hosting one of the classes and we'll be doing a live in the Facebook group too. Now, I tried this again because I thought, oh yes, that works, it's brilliant, I've solved it. This works for my machine, this works for my card. But on the second time, I got a lot of overfoiling. And what I realised was that I was adding the cardstock and the shim whilst the timer was going on. I found then, if I allowed the timer to heat up the plate and the regular card, and then once that had got to the timer, I then added the cardstock shim and the spacer shim over the top and took it straight to my die cutting machine to foil. I didn't get as much overfoiling. And this was because I wasn't trapping so much heat in there, which would lead to the increase in overfoiling. So here I've die cut all my pieces, I have foiled all my sentiments, and I've foiled all those shadow strips as well. And as you can see, it creates a beautiful banner. Now to embellish this, I was going to use some additional plates. This is the Yana Smakula Magnolia Boquet Glimmer set. And I'm foiling a variety of the flowers and leaves, and then I'm using the beautiful Moondust collection, which also comes in a variety pack, but you can buy it individually. So I foiled all of these plates in that Moondust foil, and then again I got a little bit of overfoiling, so I did use my Couture's Creations Creative Detailer. Now I did foil these on Wow Superior Smooth cardstock. This is white cardstock that's beautifully smooth, and it does give you a really good foil result. And obviously when you foil, you do get your leftover foiled sheet. It's like wasted foil. So I'm using my Pink Fresh Studio plate, solid hot plate, to then foil that leftover waste of the foil to get a full solid blue die cut with the white magnolia. Where the negative of the foil is, well, you'll just see the white from the card peeking through. So you're getting the reverse image of the true foiled design. This is a great way to use up your waste. You don't get as much excess and waste left over, you get more for your money, and you get a different look to your cards as well. And I loved how this turned out because it meant my flowers weren't all exactly the same. So I was turning this into a slimline card. I've used some wisteria cardstock here from Creative Expressions, and I have scored this at 1/2 inch all the way down the panel. I am foam mounting the banner onto the front, and I am using different depths of dimension just to get a little bit more interest in that banner. Now I did find once I placed the banner on, I trimmed my slimline down so it wasn't a full size slimmed line, because I realised my banner sentiment was a little bit high up on the card panel. So instead of measuring at 8.5, this measures at 7.5 tall. And then I'm just playing about with the position of the magnolia blooms that I have foiled, just around the banner, deciding where I wanted to place them. Once I was happy with the position, I then used foam pads and glue to adhere them down and position them in place. I finished the card off with a few iridescent sequins, just scattering them around the card to embellish the design. So I hope this has shown you some really interesting ways of creating a card with your foil designs, but also how to reduce the overfoiling. What I suggest, my biggest tip for you, is to play about with your machine, not only your glimmer machine and not only your die cutter machine, but also the coloured cardstocks that you have in your stash. They will all vary and they can all take different methods of getting the best foil application. So I hope you enjoyed today's card and video. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks on hot foiling on coloured cardstock. If you want some more inspiration as well as using some of the new Spellbinders Spring Into Glimmer collection, just look at the description box below where you'll find a link to my blog post. Until next time, happy crafting!